Hello everyone and welcome to this wonderful session on open source development organized by DSC VSCCT in collaboration with Enigma. I am Partha and I am the app development lead of DSC VSCCT. Today's event is the first part of the two-part Hacktoberfest series planned for you all. Today we have two distinguished speakers with us who will take you through the world of open source and will try to clear all your doubts that you might face while getting started. The two speakers will be Amok Desai and Ayush Agarwal. Both of them have been past GSOC participants and are experts in their field. First session of tonight's event, Amok Desai will explain you the 101 of open source and will give you a brief overview of all the career opportunities this may open. Amok Desai is a third-year computer science student who has been a part of GSOC 2020 at Open Astronomy. Very recently, Amok has also been selected as a mentor for the Outreachy 2020 Winter Edition. Throughout the session, you can keep on posting your questions in the chat box, and at the end, we will try to answer them. Subham, who is the machine learning lead of BSc VSCCT, will help facilitate the Q&A session. Now, Amok will introduce himself, and we can start the session. Over to you, Amok.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm Amok Desai, and I'm from Dwarkadas J. Sanghvi College of Engineering at Mumbai. As Partha said, I was a part of GSOC 2020 at Open Astronomy, and I have been an open source contributor since the past year. I incidentally also started my open source journey through the Hacktoberfest. So yeah, and as Partha also said, I am an outreachy mentor for the winter session this year, that is 2020, and also I am the chairperson of the open source machine learning committee at my college called DJ Synapse. We have a LinkedIn page for that too. So yeah. So I would like to start my presentation, and I'll just be sharing my screen with you all in a second. Uh, okay, so I guess the screen is visible to everybody now. I'll just present. I'll just start with my presentation then. Okay, so my topic for today is the open source 101. So, well, what I'll be going through is the basics of open source, how to contribute, different opportunities for contribution, programs, my GSAV experience, and a lot of topics. Okay? So let us get started. So firstly, I would like to go through the history of open source. There is a story behind how open source came into being. So in the 1970s, at the AIML lab at MIT, there was this one printer. Okay? So now this printer kept on getting jammed again and again, and all the people were very tired and irritated because of that. So there was this one scientist there called Richard Stallman. So what Richard Stallman did is that he modified the printer's source code such that anyone, whenever the printer would jam, like there would be a paper jam in the printer, everyone would get a message on the computer screen showing that there is the paper jam in the printer, please go and fix it. Now this was a very intuitive solution to this problem. After a few years, MIT decided to actually change the printer. So Richard Stallman goes and tells MIT that I want to actually modify the source code for this printer as well, so that I can put the fix the printer jam message code in this printer as well. Now, MIT as well as the printer company that actually manufactures the printers refused to give Richard Stallman the source code. Richard Stallman and MIT and the printer company had a very heated argument or discussion, and eventually Richard Stallman left the MIT research lab because of this issue. And he went on to create the first open source operating system called GNU. So we can basically credit the rise of open source to this one man, Richard Stallman. Obviously, there were projects before him, such as the ARPANET, which was the foundation to the internet, which was also an open source project. But the first truly open source project was created by Richard Stallman, and it was the operating system GNU. Now, now today we have more than 180,000 open source projects which are in use in your daily life. You may use them in your projects, your pet projects, or any big multinational companies might be also using these open source projects to power their own applications, their own systems, and everything. And according to an estimate by GitHub last year, there were more than 4.4 crore GitHub repositories. This just goes on to show what is the breadth and the depth of open source technologies and how prevalent they are in our lives today. Now, well, Richard Stallman started out with just one GNU project, but after that, there have been so many new and different projects, wide-scale projects that have come into being that shape our lives every day. So we have the Android operating system, which is an open source technology. We have the Linux operating system, which is an open source technology. The Chromium web browser, not the Google Chrome, but Chromium web browser, which serves as a boilerplate for creating a web browser, is open source. Mozilla Firefox is open source. For that matter, Wikipedia, that each one of us encounter every single day, is also an open source. It is monitored by an open source foundation called the Wikimedia Foundation. Then we have VLC Media Player, PHP, and even Python, which is one of the most popular or the popular languages today, is also actually an open source language. So, well, we are surrounded by open source projects and everything, either we know it or not. So now this begs the question, what is open source? Okay, so open source software is a type of software where the owner of the code allows any user to use, change, or distribute the software to anyone for any purpose. Now, what does this exactly mean? So, open source software is like, if I have a project, okay, and if I make it open source, I have the ownership license to that project. So that shows that I have actually created the project. But if any one of y'all wants to, alter the project or use it for your own purpose, that is completely and freely allowed. And that is the actual beauty of open source software, because anyone from around the world can change the base code, or change the software, use it for any task of their own. Or people from all around the world come together and work on projects that actually have real life significance. So I feel this is the beauty of open source. So now you may ask that why should you contribute to open source? What is the use of open source? Like, if I am, if you are participating in any program, or if you are just, taking out time every day to contribute to open source, what is the use of it? So firstly, the open source software is something that is, publicly made. Okay. So it is a piece of software that is maintained and can be changed, or there can be bug fixes, improvements, everything that can be done by users from all around the world. This helps in a lot of networking. So you come into contact with developers and researchers, and people from various fields who are actually contributing to the same open source project. So it definitely helps you in networking. It definitely helps in broadening your spectrum of how you think and how you learn. Also, whenever you're working on an open source project, no matter how small it may be or how big it may be, you have to be rest assured that this project is going to be used for advancing some research, or some simplifying lives of people. And that gives at least me a level of satisfaction that I don't think so I can get from closed source project. So now, y'all must be thinking that open source projects. There are a lot of open source projects, but how do I find my open source project, the one that I wish to contribute to? Because everyone has different interests. There are many companies and in the closed source domain. But what about open source? So let me tell you, for open source, the sky is the limit, and I'm actually telling you this. because you if you're into DJ mixing software, then you have a software called Mix. If you're into machine learning, you have TensorFlow. If you're into web development, you have Django. If you are into game development, you have a Godot game engine. If you're into operating systems, if you want to develop an operating system or contribute to an operating system, you have Debian. uh, you have a lot of operating systems there. If you are into geoinformatics, then you have the open geo organization. If you're into bioinformatics, you have the Open Bioinformatics Foundation. If you're in astronomy, someone like me, then you have a whole range of projects monitored by Open Astronomy, such as SunPy, and then you have AstroPy and a lot of other projects in this. And if you're into hardware, okay, so you can there is also the Arduino Foundation that everyone knows, that there are Arduino boards. So the Arduino Foundation is also actually a part of the open source. So there is absolutely no limit, or no restrictions as to what type of projects are available for open source and what type of projects you can contribute to for open source. Okay, so what I have noticed, and this is actually my personal experience as well, is that at first even I was really intimidated by the breadth or the size of the open source repositories. So the repositories have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 lines of code or even more. And there are so many developers, experienced developers who are in their prime, who are working on these projects from all over the world. So now you may feel that I really am not good enough to contribute to open source or to this open source repository, and what should I really do? So firstly, this mentality, and actually I face this, that is the reason I'm telling you, it's actually an imposter syndrome. So an imposter syndrome is basically that you feel that you are not good enough for something because of the external factors around you. And this is absolutely false. So every year, even GSOC for that matter, has a lot of projects that are documentation oriented or that are design oriented. And you so, well, basically, you can have zero knowledge of the technical field, okay, and you can still contribute to open source projects, because large open source projects need everything. They need logo designs, they need web page designs, they need you to create a good UI, they need you to create good documentation, licensing, everything. Okay, so the first and most important thing that you need to start contributing is willingness. So, just taking the plunge and starting to contribute to your first open source project, or, creating your first pull request, which I'll, tell you what are pull requests in a while, is, the first step. And once you're through with that, I believe me, it will be an amazing experience and you won't be able to go back. So, okay, so you need willingness, you need a laptop or a PC or a tablet, or anything on which you can code or do some work. You need an internet connection and you need basic Git and GitHub skills. So, well, if you have just the four of these, you are through to contribute to open source. Okay, so how should I start out? So, firstly, well, the first step is actually to open your PC or your laptop, obviously. Then you should install Git and create a GitHub account. Now, there are also various other providers, such as the Atlassian, Bitbucket, we have GitLab, we have SourceForge. So we have a lot of options. You're not just restricted to GitHub, but everyone is, GitHub is really popular. So people usually do contribute to GitHub. Okay, so now you try to find a project that interests you. Now, as I'm just going back to slides. So you have so many project domains. You have so many languages. You have so many tasks that you can contribute to, irrespective of your skill set. So you just need to find a project that interests you. It can be anything. It can be a very small project. It can be a very huge project. It really doesn't matter. Okay, just find a project that you are passionate about. Okay. Next, you fork and close the project. Now I'll just go through the basics of Git and GitHub, just for the sake of if there are some beginners out here who are going through Git for the first time. So so when you have a main project or a main repository on GitHub, you can fork it to your local account. Okay, so your account GitHub, you can fork the project, so that becomes your copy of the project. And then you have to clone the project. So cloning means that you are actually downloading the project from the GitHub to your local PC. Okay, so that is about fork and clone. So I recommend forking and cloning the project and not just directly cloning it, so that it helps maintain the code consistency and you do not really get scared that if you push something wrong to the main code and it will break the whole main code. So it's always advisable to fork and clone. Next, we need to go through the issues of the repository. Okay, so what are issues? So GitHub has a separate tab called issues. Okay, so issues are the bugs or the fixes or improvements or enhancements or anything that the project needs. Now, when you have a big project or you may have a small project which is just starting out, there's a lot of work to do. Okay, there are a lot of small parts or a lot of big parts that you have to improve or create also for that matter. So, well, the issues panel or the issues tab has all these issues, given listed through, and you should just go through the issues tab and find any issue that you feel that you can solve. It can be very small. As I said, it can be just a documentation fix, or it can be just adding 2 3 lines of code, a spelling mistake, anything. Okay, that is fine. Okay, then I would suggest, if you're just starting out, you should look for a good first issue. Now issues can have tags next to them, which I'll just show you in an image later on. So so what are tags? Essentially, they specify what the issue is about. Now if a tag has a good first issue, it means that whenever you're starting to contribute to this repository, if you want to really get a hang of how the repository is, the code base and everything, then you should look for a good first issue. Okay, then select your desired issue. It can be as simple as a documentation fix. Definitely the changes, commit the changes, and push the changes to your local repository. Okay, so now you have found the issue that you want to solve on GitHub. Now you have to go to your cloned repository on your local computer, and you have to select the sorry, you have to make the changes. So whatever documentation changes, just the changing the logic of the code or a big change, you make the change, you commit the change. So there is a git commit command or a git stage and git commit. What that does is that that just commits your code and brings your code base to the next version that you have created, and you push the changes to your local repository. Pushing essentially means that the code that you have on your local computer, you're pushing it to your fork, or pushing it to the remote repository from where you have actually cloned the project. So once that is done, the your code that you have on your local code base will also be present on the GitHub code base. So after that, you can create your first PR. So creating your first PR, what is a PR? So a pull request. So GitHub actually or open source projects have a lot of contributors. So there are new contributors, experienced contributors, who can make a lot of changes or small changes or big changes. But what can happen is essentially that these changes can break the existing code and stop it from working. Now this is not really a good thing. So GitHub introduced pull requests. So a pull request is essentially it is like a request that you're making on the actual code base to add or delete certain code. Okay, and then there is a whole chat section where you can discuss the changes, and then you can add or delete things or change things according to what the discussion is. And then finally your PR gets merged. So once the PR is approved, once your pull request for PR is approved, it gets merged, or your code gets merged into the main code base. So actually, when you actually make your first pull request, or your first pull request gets merged, it's the best and the happiest feeling ever, because you are actually out there making a difference, or helping others, or helping advanced research. So it is a really amazing feeling, let me tell you. Okay, so and step 10 is while alive, repeat 3 to 9. So, well, once you get a hang of open source, you'll actually be addicted to it. You would want to contribute to it regularly and probably every day as well. So you can probably just repeat steps 3 to 9, and just keep on contributing to open source, and it is going to be an amazing experience. Okay, so now there are a lot of open source programs. I actually have a link of other open source programs. Just for the sake of the presentation, I just included five here, but there are a lot of them. So first we have Google Summer of Code. Then we have the Outreachy program. We have the MLH Fellowship that was just introduced by GitHub this year. We have the Hack Oktoberfest that is just going on right now, and then we have the Girl Script Summer of Code, which is also a pretty great program that occurs every summer. There are also programs that occur during the winter. There are also called Winter of Codes. Yeah, Winter of Codes. Yeah. So IIT Kanpur, or IIT Kanpur has one of these. And what these actually do is that they help train students for the big Summer of Code programs such as Google Summer of Code. You have Outreach, you have MLH Fellowship, as well as you have Girl Script Summer of Code. So should you apply? So once you get a hang of open source, and once you're addicted to open source, essentially, yes, I feel that you should definitely apply, because the exposure, or the exposure that you get to do real world projects or solve real world problems is a whole different experience altogether. So yeah, definitely you should apply. So okay, so now I'll be discussing the Hack Oktoberfest, and I'll be discussing GSOC in really brief. Okay, so Hack Oktoberfest. So this it is actually a month-long program that happens in October every year, and you can just sign up for it even right now. So registrations are open, I guess, till the mid of October or throughout October. Okay, so what is the objective of this program, or what are you supposed to do in this program? So you are supposed to put only four pull requests to any open source repository on GitHub. Okay, and as I've highlighted here, it does not need to be code. It can be a documentation or spelling fix. It can be anything at all. Okay, all they need is just four pull requests. So you register for the program, and then it will track four pull requests of yours. And so after you put the four pull requests, and if you're one of the 70,000 guys who have first 70,000 guys to put the four pull requests, you'll get a limited edition T-shirt and stickers, which are pretty cool. Just by the way, so the Hack October Fest can be actually a primer, or it can be a starting point for your open source contributions, because you have so many people contributing to open source projects, and there are some repositories that actually create special tasks for Hack Oktoberfest. As you can see in the image on the bottom right, there is this is the issues tab. Okay, so they have a lot of tags attached to it. As I said, there's a good first issue, there's a Hack Oktoberfest, priority high, and a lot of tags that you can attach. So a lot of repositories have a special tag Hack Oktoberfest that is specially done for this event. So it is definitely highly recommended to apply for this event and contribute and start contributing to open source, because once you put in your first pull request, the job from there becomes pretty easy. So it's just the first time that you're scared, and after that, it becomes pretty easy. I personally participated in the Hack October Fest last year, and that was my starting point for open source. I did not really open huge pull requests or did not do a lot of work, but it just helped me, sharpen my GitHub skills, and remove the fear of contributing to open source from me. So yes, highly recommended to do Oktoberfest right now. Okay, then we have Google Summer of Code, which is probably the most popular open source program there. So Google Summer of Code is there every year, and it is a 12-week long program. So yes, it is a pretty advanced program, and you are supposed to write a proposal and work on a huge project that will actually help the repository or the code base or the organization that you're contributing to accomplish a task or a project that they were actually intending to do since a long time. Okay, so it is a once in a lifetime experience, let me tell you that. And you also get a good enough stipend of $3,000 in India. For other countries the stipend varies according to the purchasing power parity, but for India, just for 12 weeks getting $3,000 is a really big deal. Also you get exposure and in-depth insights to a real world project, which is actually going to be used for betterment of research or for helping people, as I said earlier. So according to me, the most important task for the Google Summer of Code is the finding a project, because this year there were one no there were, I guess, 200 organizations that was selected for GSOC, and then each organization can have multiple sub organizations which may also have multiple project topics. So finding a topic is probably one of the toughest parts of GSOC, because if you don't find the topic that suits you, then you may not get in because of the strict criteria for getting into GSOC. So well, my friend and I, we actually created a project finder app. I'll just open this for you all in a minute. So what this app does is that, yeah. So what this app does is that we have scraped the past 11 year of GSOC organization that was selected, and then you can search by text type or the organization name or by category, and then you can get the information of the number of times an organization was accepted in GSOC, graphical analytics of its projects, and the tech stack, and much more information. And we are actually willing to move this further as well. So that is in progress. So I'll just select the tech stack as suppose Python. Okay. So if I enter Python here, okay. So there are 184. It gives me the organizations and the number of projects that it has had in each and every year from 2019 to 2019. And then you also have the topics for what the organization does. So AIMA code focus on artificial intelligence and education. It has Python, Java, and JavaScript projects in the past. Then if we go down a little, then you have RU pilot, robotics, UAV, drones, rovers, which also shows the number of projects that it has had in the past, and the tech stack. So I feel that this is a pretty useful app for anyone who wants to be a part of GSOC and wants to find the right project for themselves. Okay, so talking about my Google Summer of Code project. So I was a part of Google Summer of Code under Open Astronomy, which was my main organization, and I was a part. I was actually working on a code base or repository or a project actually that is called Stingray. Stingray is actually used for X-ray spectral timing. So which is basically any sort of X-rays or coming from distant stars or stellar objects such as black holes or nebulae or whatever. So these emit X-ray radiations, and these are picked up by some telescopes or some satellites or some observatories. And what my project or what this repository Stingray did is that it was used for analysis and creating various useful graphs and diagnostics for the data that has been got from the stellar objects, that is X-ray data. So my project essentially was a lightning fast Stingray. That is the name of my project. It was to optimize and parallelize Stingray operations to fit larger than memory datasets and speed up the code. Now I'll just actually go through my project in brief, and the reason for this is to just make you understand again the breadth and depth of what you can do in open source. So as I explained what the use of my repository or my GSOC project repository or code base was, I was not actually involved in the astronomy part of it. What happens is that the data that is collected from these stellar objects, such as black holes or neutron stars or whatever, is really really huge. Okay, so to analyze all of that data and create analysis graphs and diagnostics is it may take a lot of time. Sometimes the data goes into terabytes. and a terabyte of data cannot be directly loaded into your RAM for analysis because your RAM may be 8 GB, 16 GB, 32 GB, or if you're working on a server 120 to 56 GB. You cannot load all of your data directly into the RAM. So what needs to be done is that we need to chunk the data, okay, and we need to parallelize these operations, because 1 TB of data into 16 GB blocks so that it fits into my RAM, the total time taken for the analysis will be a lot. So what I basically had to do is that I had to reduce the time taken while making the repository or the code base compatible or capable of handling a large amount of code. So, well, that was what my basic project was, and I did my project in Python. So, I was basically involved with the optimization part of the repository, and this just goes to show on that although my repository actually worked on X-ray applications, I was actually working on optimizing them. So, it gave me a huge insight into the code, and just to share a person's experience, although I had created a proposal and I had planned out my own project, every single day when I opened my laptop and I sat to work, I was super excited. And I was not super excited in GSOC project. I was super excited because I didn't know what to do and how to solve a problem or an issue that I was facing. Yes, I did have my mentor who was very helpful, but morning I opened my laptop and I didn't really know what to do or how to move forward or how to solve a particular issue. And I had to literally Google everything that I knew, except I knew the basics of Python. So well, apart from that, I had to Google everything, and I had to learn, implement, test, and then repeat the whole thing again. And to be very honest, that is what actually motivated me to complete my GSOC project this year. So I have also included a link of the repository and my work that I have done for the GSOC project, and you can just probably give it a look. Apart from my GSOC project, I was also a part of this TESS hackathon, which is a actually TESS is a satellite in space that is transiting exoplanets survey satellite. So it searches for exoplanets or planets which may have life. So I was actually working on a project Wavelets, which I'm a main contributor to as well. So what this project Wavelets does is that it analyzes the data from the test satellite, and it gives an idea of the frequency of the signals. So basically, even here, what am I doing is that it may not be a very big or a vast project, but I'm contributing to a project that would help advance research for scientists all around the world. So that also gave me a huge amount of satisfaction as well. So, well, what are you waiting for? Start contributing today to open source. And I would just, if you all have any question and answers, which I hope you all do, please feel free to shoot those.
Okay, so thank you, Moksha. So this is Shivam, and thank you for such an intuitive walkthrough into the world of open source. I really hope that people here take away a lot from your experience that you have shared today. So starting out the Q&A session, we have collected some of the questions that were asked, and also there were questions that were uh, asked by the panel. So I would like to open a window where we have questions.
I'm so sorry. I'll stop presenting.
Okay. So is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, so we can go on with the Q&A session. So we have accumulated some of the questions that we have for you, Anu. So starting it out with, the first question is asked by Ankush. Ankush wants to know what type of skills does one need to have to start open source
So
development?
as I said earlier, sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, no, yeah, go on, go on.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, you do not need to have a lot of skills. You should just know the basics of Git and GitHub, and you should actually have the willingness to contribute to open source development. Because to be very honest, you can contribute to documentation, you can contribute to design, you can contribute to programming, coding, anything. And if you are really into coding and programming, and if you want to know what skills you should have, well, basically anything works. You can have skills in Python, Java, C, C++, web development, app development, testing, continuous integration, anything. All you need is just one basic skill set that you're decently good enough at, and then you can just start contributing.
Okay. So one of the questions from the panel member, it is how to approach organizations if you don't have the required skill right now, but you are interested to work with them.
Okay, so as I said that in the issues tab, you can look for the good first issue. So you can solve a good first issue. So, well, actually, if you do not have the required skills, you learn on the go. That is how it works, to be very honest. And you solve issues, you create pull requests, and once you submit the pull request, you can try to talk to any of the members of the organization, or via Slack or via their own channel. Some organizations are even on Discord, others are on Matrix, Riot, and a lot of IRC channels. So you could
Yes.
just go and approach them, and they are really friendly because you are contributing to their code, and they actually do need help. Each and every project needs help. So you could just submit your first PR, and go to them and ask for help, because that is absolutely fine.
Right. So it's completely all right if you don't know exactly what you're doing at the start, right?
Yep, definitely. Because it's a learning curve for everyone. Anyone who starts with open source, they'll obviously take some time to get a hang of the actual repository code. So the maintainers or the organization members definitely understand that, and they want other people to contribute to their code base.
Right.
Yep.
So we have another question. What should be an effective way of contributing to open source? So are there any good practices that one needs to follow, like while talking to an organization or a mentor?
Okay, so firstly, while talking to an organization or mentor, English is the basic language that everyone communicates in, no matter where they are from. So for my GSA project, my mentor was from Italy, and I was from India. So, well, the only common language between us was English. Now, talking about contributing to open source in an effective way. So, every organization, or rather, every repository has a contributing dot markdown or contributing dot txt, maybe a file in which they actually describe what are the good practices of contributing to this code base. Well, some
Okay.
people like spaces as for the indentation. Some people like tabs, well, some like variables names in a certain way. And if that is not there, you could just directly go to the organization Slack channel or any IRC channel. You can just ask them what are the good practices to contribute to your code base. And also, as I mentioned earlier, it is always advisable to fork your project and then clone it, rather than cloning it from source, because this prevents a lot of accidents from happening. So just letting you all know from personal experience.
Okay. So another question: what new opportunities does open source bring to the table for Tier 3 colleges? So can we expect internships and work opportunities out of them?
So, well, what I believe is the main advantage of open source software, or contributing to open source, irrespective of programming, if you're not a part of Google, Summer of Code, or anything. So, your GitHub profile these days, and GitHub has added a new, feature to create your own profile on GitHub. So,
Right.
whenever you're contributing to GitHub, that shows that you are proficient in the language or the technology in which you are contributing to, or by which you are contributing to. So definitely that adds to your resume. And this is just about basic, contributing to open source. When we are talking about other programs such as GSOC and Outreach and MLH, they hold a lot of value because these have a very high bar for the entry. It is, I'm not going to say it is tough, but you need to work hard for it. So definitely, it adds a lot of value to your, to your resume. Maybe you won't get a direct internship from your, GSOC or Outreach or any of the other. From programs, but you can, it indirectly helps in improving your resume.
Okay, great. So another question. So how can we take the best out of Hacktoberfest? Any personal suggestion? Like already you have told a lot about it. So any one, two lines?
So, well, basically, just start contributing. It really does not matter, what do you contribute, how do you contribute, to which repository do you contribute. Just, just get started. That is all I have to say.
Right. Okay, so Ashutosh wants to know, suppose I want to make an extension for Mozilla Browser, do I have to first open an issue in the Mozilla Browser repo? So the question really wonder about the new idea feature that I want to contribute that repo with proper details.
Okay, so well, now you can take this in one of two ways. You can just directly go and open an issue, but while doing this simultaneously, it is very advisable to go on the Slack or their IRC channel where they have their main discussions about the organization. And you mentioned that this is what a feature or an extension that I want to add for the Mozilla browser, for an example. And
Okay.
experience I have, and this is how I want to go about it. So it is really a two-step thing rather than just creating an issue, because if you're not a regular contributor to the organization or the Mozilla Foundation for that matter, they will the organizers or the community members will feel what is actually going on, who is this guy who's contributing. So definitely do it both ways.
Right. Okay, so another question from Ashutosh. In Hacktoberfest, will my 4 PR on the same repo count as those 4 required for PR? Or do I have to make all the 4 PRs in different repos?
No, no, no. There is no restriction of any sort. You can have four PRs on the same repo as well. To be very honest, and I wouldn't recommend doing this, but you can actually, make four PRs on your friends' projects or any of your other projects as well. That is not really an issue. Okay, what these guys really expect is, four PRs. Okay, so, but I believe at least contributing to two or more projects will, give you a good idea of how to really contribute to open source rather than just contributing to one same repository.
Right. Okay, so Partha, over to
Uh,
you.
I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
guess Shruti Kashyap has a question in the chat section.
Okay,
I'm
right,
just
right. In the
reviewing.
chat. Okay. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So she has asked. So would you like to state the question, or should I? I don't mind that either ways.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool. You
Yeah, yeah.
can. I'll go on.
So after I
I'm okay.
clone a forked repo and create a new branch, how do I add my code to the branch? Okay. So after you clone a fork repo, you create a new branch. So you create a new branch on the local code base. Okay, and then you can just add whatever code you want to add to the load. And while pushing, there is a special option called -u in the git push command. Okay, so git push -u and then the name of the new branch that you're pushing to, and this will create a new branch on your remote repository on GitHub as well, and commit the code there. If needed, I can provide some basic links for Git and GitHub in the presentation at the end as well, so you all can probably go through this.
Oh, that'll be
My
really good.
question was, can I ask you? My question was that how can I write the code like in the Git command prompt? I started by cloning it and I made a new branch. And after that, when I started writing the code, it didn't accept it. So how will I write the code?
Okay, okay,
What is
okay.
the
So
process?
I'll just explain what a Git branch is actually. So a Git branch is actually, if you're branching out from master, okay, so it is like whatever code that you have in the master branch that is directly cloned into that branch, and then using any text code editor, I would recommend VS Code, Visual Studio Code for that matter. You can just if you're logged into that branch or the new branch that's created, you can just directly start editing the code. So you don't need to. I don't think so. I guess what you're talking about is that you are trying to change the code on the remote directly. But I would recommend creating a branch and a pull request for the same as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
that's it. Out. Okay. So over to you, Partha.
Thanks. Thanks, Amok, for the wonderful session on 101 of open source. The key
Thank you
takeaway,
so
I
much.
guess, was the key takeaway, I guess, is searching for the good first issues on GitHub. Even my first peer to Mozilla Mobile was by searching for a good first issue. One just needs to get past the imposter syndrome, like you said, and start exploring. Sometimes the code base might be like very huge and it may seem daunting, but this is what Oktoberfest is all about. You just need to get started and like find some good repo and start contributing.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm sure most of the people, yeah, I'm sure most of the people who are unaware about open source would have gained a nice perspective about it. The Q&A session was very interesting as well. Thanks once again, Amok, for accepting our invitation. We are really fortunate to have you here.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Pam.
Yeah, thank you once. Moving ahead, we have Ayush Agarwal, who is a veteran of open source development. Um, he has he has been a past GSOC developer with the organization Checker Framework and a GSOC 2020 mentor. He is currently working as a research intern with Adobe. He will talk about his experience as a developer and mentor in GSOC. Like the previous session, you can keep on posting your questions in the chat box. Now Ayush will introduce himself and we can carry on. Passing on to you, Ayush.
Uh, Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me. Partha, can you confirm if you can hear me or not?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, thank you so
You
much.
can go ahead.
Uh, Hello guys. I'm currently in a senior year at IIT Roorkee. I'm currently working with a startup and previously done intern at Adobe. Before that, as mentor, I was GSOC 2020 mentor under Jenkins, and before that, as Google coding mentor. Before that, I've done GSOC under Checker framework and a lot more. So it all started from open source, and right now it is continuing with working with startups there. So I think GSOC has opened a lot of opportunities for me to work with certain companies and having an internship on the go. Uh, so just to correct Partha, I have worked as a research intern at Adobe, but I am not currently working. Right. Let's make this session a bit more interactive. So yeah,
Yeah,
before
that was
that,
a mistake on my part. Sorry for that.
and over that. I'd like to ask some questions. Like, how many of you know about GSOC before this webinar? So can you all guys spam in the call chat? Yes. What is research? Okay. Cool. So you all know about GSOC, right? And can you guys all Uh, I just want to know, like, all of you understand Hindi, right? Because there might be some case during the presentation that I might shift to Hindi according to my comfort. So I just want that like I don't want to make it awkward. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess most of them are comfortable in Hindi. So
okay, okay, thank you, thank you. And
yeah.
आराम से बात it's okay.
thank you so much. And last but not the least, can you guys also spam your year that you were currently in your college? Like the first year rights can suggest first, second, third. Uh, okay, cool. So most of you guys are from second as well as third year, right? So let's start the session. So I'll share my screen. I'll keep constant attention on your chat. If you have any questions, then you can ask me. Cool. So you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Uh, right. So like this whole session will be like mostly around the questions regarding GSOC, how you can participate in it, how to write proposal, and all that. So let's just first start with this question, like what is GSOC and what it is not. So like GSOC, according to me, is a non-competitive program for students to get some experience about open source development, right? It's non-competitive after you get selected in GSOC, but it's highly competitive before you are selected in GSOC, right? Uh, yeah, it may sound so cliche, but yeah, it's true. So it all started with an initiative by Google to help like open source organization to expand and to bring people more into open source by giving a great platform and incentivize the contributors towards open source development. So GSOC is not an internship like officially as they say. Uh, so it's an open source work that you will do in order to in order to earn some money or like in order to learn. So it's definitely like you should not take it half-heartedly because you'll be contributing in some piece of code that will be used by thousands of other developers in the world. So you should be more dedicated towards it, like while writing code, enjoys while doing it. So this is all about GSOC. Like before starting it up, like you should also know about the perks of GSOC. So the first and foremost perk of it, like you'll be able to work on on a piece of code that is completely new to you. There'll be large projects, and you'll definitely get to learn something new. And after that, like you'll get chance to interact with community members, mentors from all over the all over the world, mostly out of India. And yeah, also after that, you'll get a chance to get the recommendation or referrals, so that like it might help you getting a job or some sort of internship. So I can give you example of my friend. So he completed his ESOC in his first year, and his mentors were the professor of like the top universities in US, and he had done his project under the Stellar Group organization in the field of parallel computing. So after that, like he got his interest in that field, and he he got referral from his professor, and like his professor agreed to give him intern under his guidance at his university in US. So after that, like after first year ends, and he got the internship there. So after that, like he visited US 3 times for the internship and other projects, and right now I think he probably have an intern at Nvidia, and yeah, doing some awesome stuff in the field of parallel computing. So GSOC might open you some like very new opportunities, and might also shape your interest towards different fields that might be alien to you before you start in it. So yeah. Second perk is that like you will get to know about the freshest technologies like uh, in which Amug has also worked, like open astronomy. It was completely new to me, and yeah, contributing in these type of organizations, yeah, might bring you some kind of new technologies and new ideas that might change your path in future. The third perk is that like having a GSOC tag in your resume might also brings you a lot of new opportunities. So, like in my case, mostly start like one of the startup that I'm currently working in actually approached me due to the fact that I have a GSOC tag in my resume. So, yeah, it will also bring you many job opportunities as well. And last and final, the stipend that GSOC that Google provides using the GSOC is also very good. Like it's about $3,000 as Amok mentioned, and like it's way higher than most of the companies offer these days for the internship. So that's all about the perks of GSOC. And other question that comes into our mind, like what skill set or prerequisites are required for GSOC? So, like the core skill set that I'd say is not actually a skill set, but you should know about one of the programming language that you are comfortable in. And maybe if you are unaware about any programming language, then you can start with C++, Java. Then, like if you have some like idea about object-oriented programming or any programming language, then it's really easy to shift from one programming language to another according to the requirements. And apart from that, you should have some idea about Git and GitHub, which you can like uh, learn during this Hacktoberfest event. It's really a like one of the good event to learn about Git and GitHub. And yeah, after that, that's all about it. Like that's all about the skills and prerequisites about GSOC. It's just your willingness and the imposter syndrome that Amu mentioned. Uh, like it's all about your willingness and things in to learn new things. And yeah, after that, बस फेल के काम करो और हो जाएगा these all में. Okay, cool. So after that, how
Nice
can
one.
you? Yeah. So after that, how can you get into GSOC? So like first thing that came into mind is that like how to find the right project for you to work into that. So like Amog really made a really good app, so you can search there about the organization and projects that were being part of the GSOC last year or this year, like maybe in the history of GSOC. Uh, so like मैंने कैसे किया था ये चीज? So I just uh, I just go through the whole archive of GSOC. I just search through each and every organization that was part into GSOC last year. I gone through their projects, and I just prepared a spreadsheet in which I try to filter out organization according to my interest. So in the first round of filtering, I gone through all the organization, all their projects, and like sorted out like which project suits me or like my interest aligns with them. This was about the first iteration that I made. In the second iteration, I tried to like go through more deep into that project and try to understand what each and every project is actually doing. So all this process might take up 2 or 3 days, but yeah, I think it is required to find the right project that you will be contributing in GSOC. And yeah, after the second round of filtering, like I used to see that which projects actually have a lot of competition and like a lot of students working in, like in my case I actually started in preparing for GSOC or like contributing in my organization uh, around February end or March starting. So at that time most of the development related organization were completely full of students. Like in in every project there were around 5 to 6 students participating in. So I just like in my case I actually have to work a lot to find a right project for me, in which like not many students are participating in. And it's pretty obvious like if 4 or 5 students are actually working on one project, then it's only be one student that will be ultimately working on that project during GSOC. So it's really important that you pick a project uh, according to the number of people working on it. So yeah, uh, and after that, like you, after all these three phases of filtering, you will only be ending up with maybe 2 or 3 projects, and after that, like you might you have to explore that organization, you have to explore their code bases, and what are their requirements, how you can contribute into that project. So yeah. So in my case, I can tell you, like mine was Checker framework. It has a very huge project, but the requirement was pretty low. So their whole project was in Java language, and I was pretty familiar about it. So their requirement was also, yeah, मतलब उनकी ज़्यादा requirement नहीं थी, and I was able to do the the bare minimum amount of contribution within a month or two. So yeah, after that, I started preparing my proposal. So this was all about like finding the right project and yeah, contributing in that. Second one is contact your mentors. So once you decided that like I want to start contributing in this project, or uh, this issue, or like this part of feature that I want to work on, you should contact your mentors about that. And like contacting should not be like that, like I'm interested in this, or please tell me how to proceed, or this type of questions really irritate mentors. Like in my case, like one of the students actually asked my mentor, like I'm interested in doing GSOC and Checker framework. Please guide me how to proceed. And my mentor directly replied, "We don't require students like you. Please find other organization to contribute." So these kind of lean questions really irritate mentors, and I'd suggest you not to write all these kind of questions. Like the straightforward guide to this is like try to research about the issue slash feature slash work on. Try to like do some sort of homework about it. Try to set up code. Like every organization has a contributing guide, how to start guide, how to set up their code base. Like try to play with it. Try to do something so that you can present with the mentors and ask for their advice. So there is a very good video about it, like how to ask a technical question. I'd share that video link after this meeting, but you should look into that. So while asking questions, while asking for advice, you should tell everything that you like. You should tell every sort of research, every sort of homework that you have done regarding that issue to your mentor, and after that, like you can ask for the advice. And really, like mentor will be completely overwhelmed, and you will end up having a very good impression on them. So yeah, and after that, like making a very good impression on mentor really helps while they sort of chooses your proposal out of all the three proposals, 3 or 4, 5, जितने भी proposal like they have gone through. But when you have stayed in touch with them, or like when they know you, so just like for the whole GSOC period, uh, solve issues on a regular basis, and try to know that I'm here in this organization to contribute, and I'll be contributing further into that, uh, whether or not I'm selected into this. So show your interest towards the organization, towards the project, and yeah, I can definitely confirm this because as a mentor also in the GSOC. So yeah, that's a really good thing that we actually sees into the prospective student that we select. So before selecting the proposal, so we actually see that the person has contributed or not. So if there isn't any contribution by the person in that project, we actually discard that project or the person. So it's really not in our case that like while selecting a student, we really want that student should be dedicated towards the organization and really understands about the organization very well. So मतलब यही है कि ओवरऑल तुम्हें उस प्रोजेक्ट की तरफ और उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की तरफ डेडिकेशन शो करना है एंड इट्स नॉट ऑल अबाउट दैट लाइक अगर तुम्हें सही में प्रोजेक्ट इंटरेस्ट कर रहा होगा तो तुम वो चीज़ कर लोगे और अगर वो इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं होगा अकॉर्डिंग टू प्रोजेक्ट सो कितना भी कर लो इंटरेस्ट नहीं आएगा तुम्हें उसके अंदर एंड that's that's really important to find the right project according. After that, you should have a decent proposal, and having a good proposal really gets through all this process. But not having a good proposal doesn't make that difference if you have already contributed a lot into that. And last but not the least, like you should enjoy coding and whatever you are doing for GSOC and in open source. Whatever you are doing in your life, you should enjoy it. And yeah, that's all about how can you get into GSOC. After that, like we all have a question in our mind, like how to make a good proposal for GSOC. So as I told you, मेंटर्स डोंट रियली एक्सपेक्ट कि तुम्हें लाइक सब कुछ पता होगा उस प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में या फिर तुम्हें हर चीज पता होगी कि मैं इस वीक ये करूंगा मैं इस वीक ये करूंगा मतलब in my case also I took almost one third period of my whole GSOC in order to learn about the code base that my organization uses in order to learn things understand things well uh, learning about good coding practices. Like Checker framework has one of the biggest code bases that I ever seen. So about their framework, their tools that they are using was really hard for me, and it took me a lot of time to understand that. And I asked mentor about that. Like, is it is it normal to like consuming that much amount of time in order to learn stuff? And my mentor told me like it's really okay. Like it's all depend upon your uh, skill set, like in order learning set, maybe like बस ये तुम पे डिपेंड करता है यार अगर तुम मतलब कुछ ना कुछ काम कर रहे हो हर समय तो and mentors know about it, they completely understand it. So having a good proposal, like we can start explore like uh, let's say you have interest in some projects in Jenkins, so you can contact previous GSOCers and ask for their proposal, look at that how they have written their proposal. uh, so this was the starting, like you after that you will get some idea about like how to proceed towards a proposal, how to make it. After that you should try to explore about your project in a deep way, like try to list down things on paper, uh, like उसके बारे में और थोड़ा रिसर्च करना इसे कैसे कैसे अपन कंप्लीट कर सकते हैं. Let's say we can take example of a mobile application. Let's say you're working on a mobile app, and for an example, let's say कि तो तुम्हें फ्लिपकार्ट जैसा ऐप बनाना है एंड उसके अंदर पेमेंट गेटवे वाली चीज इम्प्लीमेंटेड नहीं है. सो उसके लिए तुम्हें कैसे अप्रोच करना है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि पेमेंट गेटवे के लिए मैं क्या टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करने वाला हूँ. लेट्स से मैं Razor Pay use करता हूँ for payment technology, and then try to learn about how that payment technology works, like Razor Pay कैसे work करता है, मैं कौन सा framework SDK उसका use करने वाला हूँ अपने ऐप के अंदर. आफ्टर दैट कौन सी स्क्रीन मुझे बनानी होगी ऐप के अंदर ताकि मैं ये सब चीज़ें दिखाऊँ, मेरे को उसके लिए क्या लॉजिक लिखना पड़ेगा. सो like try to list down all these things, go into detail about all these things, and जस्ट बस इसके बाद ये होगा कि ये सब चीज़ें तुम्हें अगर तुमने होमवर्क कर लिया रिसर्च कर ली इसके बाद बस तुम्हें ये सब चीज़ें अपने रेज्यूमे सॉरी अपने प्रपोजल में लिखनी होगी एंड देन उसके बाद बस मतलब अपने आप तुम्हारा प्रपोजल अच्छा हो जाएगा. एंड फाइनली आफ्टर ऑल दिस थिंग बस तुम्हें अपने मेंटर से चेक कराना है, प्रूफ रीड कराना है, आस्क फॉर दिस सजेशन, इफ दे सजेस्ट समथिंग ट्राई टू इम्प्लीमेंट देम as soon as possible before the proposal deadline and the proposal for visa, and finally my experience during visa. So as I told you, I started around February end and March contributing in my organization. So, like my GSOC journey uh, have been a very lovely period of my life. But yeah, as I told you, like 1/3 of its period was spent learning about Checker framework and all that related stuff. But after that, like I was able to catch up and yeah, it's really not matter like जो भी तुमने टास्क वगैरह अपने प्रपोजल में असाइन किए हैं वो तुम कंप्लीट कर रहे हो पूरे जीसॉक पीरियड में मतलब ये ज्यादा जरूरी नहीं है बस the thing is like the most important thing is that like you should always be active, you should always be contributing in something, you should always be learning, and that's what your mentors, your organization and Google wants, like so that's all about it. uh, like I have written all this thing in my blog that I have published a year ago. So you can scan this QR code or like go through this link and yeah, it also has experiences of my friends and yeah, I think you will like it. That's all. You can have some casual talk or questions. Yeah, apart from VSOC, I have ton of experience working with startups and yeah, if you are not selected in visa, try to work with a startup. Like it really, you will learn a lot compared to visa in startups. So yeah, you try to give it a shot. Over to you, Partha.
Thanks, Ayush. I had one doubt. Like, do you believe it's easier to get into GSOC if one has experience in previous open source programs such as Kharagpur Winter of Code or else this Girl Script Summer of Code?
Uh, I don't think so. Like it's all same, man. Like I started from scratch and like people started contributing in GSOC organization from December as well, like this December, and start and continue contributing around 3-4 months, and after that, like some of my friends didn't got selected in the GSOC, and it's really unfortunate for them. But yeah, I don't think so. Like I have started from scratch, and I also started programming in my first year. Like I haven't any idea about programming when I was not in my college. Like I was just preparing for JEE. Yeah.
And
Uh,
like this year, I guess Processia was not selected for GSOC. So how will you know like which the organization we have been regularly contributing to, it will get selected for this GSOC, like new GSOC?
I think FOSS Asia didn't participate in GSOC like because they don't have like surplus number of projects or like mentors to manage all this stuff, right? So they already
Yeah.
uh, like published an article about it, like why they are not participating in GSOC this year. So let's say if you want to contribute in one organization and a project suits you best, then you can contact your mentors and ask the community whether they are participating in GSOC or not. So I think like in case of most of the organizations, they already have plans in their mind, like whether they are going to participate or not. And I think GSOC like बड़ी बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के केस में GSOC मतलब इतना लाइक गूगल इतना मैटर नहीं करता, लाइक वो सेलेक्ट हो ही जाती है अगर उन्हें पार्टिसिपेट करना होता है तो
And like the entry into GSOC, the entry barrier is quite high. So, like, how do we ensure that we will get selected? Does one need to solve those issues which are labeled as severe or something like that, like very important?
uh, not really, but uh, yeah, entry barrier is very high in the case of organization which has very high amount of competition. So there are some organization also which like उनके slots खाली चल जाते हैं because they don't have plenty amount of people to participate in. So like try to like if you are unsure that you are going to selected or not, then try to look into other organization as well. Like they have a pretty low barrier, and if you have willingness to learn, then you can surely succeed in them too. So most of these organizations try to work in technologies that are not familiar to you, like MLDL, maybe blockchain, cloud computing, and all that stuff. So if you have interest in them too, like you can also go through them. But yeah, I think nonetheless, contributing in open source really teaches you a lot. Like you know how to write a clean code, how to write a maintainable code, how to interact with community, and yeah, I think like preparing for GSOC itself is a learning experience. The thing is that you didn't earn money, but you learn a lot, and you make certain connections that can potentially change your future. So yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Uh,
one of my friend like who was preparing, who was contributing in Sugar Labs, but he was not selected. Like he was contributing for almost 4 months, and he was not selected in GSOC because like the other person who was selected was contributing same as him, and has a much superior proposal than him. That's why he was not selected. But his mentor from was some one of the like I don't remember the name, but it was a good university in US, and like the mentor, seeing his dedication and work, offers him a research internship under his guidance. So that's really a great thing, which you can like do contributing in these open source organizations.
so now you all can ask questions. If you can post it in
We
the
have
chat box.
we have one question from Rajarshi. Um,
Yeah.
so as you have said, we must be comfortable with one language. So do we need to have advanced knowledge in that language? For example, OOPS in that language or very high level of data structures and algorithms.
Uh, like I know that data structures and algorithms are only necessary in order to get an internship. I'll like I don't know about all this, so I just have a basic idea about Java and how development works because I developed few Android apps before, so I know like how Java in production actually works. And I just want to suggest you that like people having a high level DSA knowledge doesn't know how to write applications and how to develop things. So they if you tell a competitive coder like to participate in these or like contribute in some organization slash open source project, he will have to learn a lot of things compared to you. So don't feel like that. Like you just have to have some basic idea like how a programming language works, and you can learn according to the requirement of that organization, requirement of the project that you will take on in future.
So like मेरा एक question है भैया, like ये कब तक करना सही रहता है? Like is there a time frame जहाँ से मतलब GSOC की preparation करना सही रहता है?
So like according to me, mostly people starts around December, finding their right project, right organization, and all that stuff, and they start contributing in as well. So यार मेरा ऐसा ही रहता है कि तुम जितना जल्दी चालू करोगे उतना तुम्हें एज मिलेगा ओवर अदर पीपल बिकॉज जनरली लोगों को पता नहीं होता एंड दे स्टार्ट कंट्रीब्यूटिंग when actual organization list announced. So uh, I think if that answers your question, and
Yeah. हाँ. एक और question है, how do we select the right organization for participating in the process of GSOC?
uh, like I've spent around 10 to 20 minutes on that question. So
Right.
yeah, as I told you, like you have to do, like you have to invest your 2-3 days in order to like find the right project, right organization. You just go through all the list of past organization and try to go through their tech stack, what the organization do. Let's say in the case of EMA code, they actually implements uh, the EMA book uh, in some programming languages. In case of Jenkins, it deals with continuous integration and delivery stuff. In case of Rocketjet, they have an Android application.
Right.
So just go through this and थिंग्स आर लाइक फिल्टर्स आउट कि तुम्हें क्या ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का काम अच्छा लगता है। देन उसके बाद में सेकंड फेज में उनके प्रोजेक्ट्स, उनके टेक स्टैक्स के अंदर थोड़ा और डाइव मारो और देखो कि मेरे को मैं किस चीज से ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल हूँ। सो लेट्स से इफ आई एम कंफर्टेबल विद सी प्लस प्लस, जावा और पाइथन, देन लार्वल, रस्ट और ऐसी लैंग्वेजेस की जिन भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है मैं उनमें जाना कम प्रेफर करूंगा।
Right.
सो इन माय केस मुझे एंड्रॉयड और जावा में इंटरेस्ट था, तो मैंने सबसे पहले देखा कि कौन कौन सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड्रॉयड और जावा यूज करती है। देन उसके बाद में देखा कि उसके बाद मेरा ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट था एंड्रॉयड में जाने का, तो मैंने एंड्रॉयड स्पेसिफिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन देखी, बट उनमें कंपटीशन बहुत ज़्यादा था। लाइक in every organization there were around 20 to 25 students part contributing, and they hardly select 4 or 5 students in the end. So it will really, मतलब काफी यूजलेस होगा अगर तुम उन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कंट्रीब्यूट करोगे एंड यू हैव एन अल्टीमेट एम टू बी अ जी सॉकर। सो after that, like I ended up with Kivix and Checker framework, which actually deals with which have Android projects in them. And after that, like after going through Checker framework, I really like their approach, how they are dealing with it, and yeah, I finalized Checker framework and started contributing.
Okay.
That's all.
अभी क्या ऐसा जरूरी है कि लाइक एट द एंड ऑफ हम लोग जिस प्रोजेक्ट में काम कर रहे होते हैं तो उसका एक पार्ट हमें पता होता है कैसे करना है, तो क्या ये जरूरी है कि हम उस पूरे प्रोजेक्ट में कंट्रीब्यूट करें या बस उस पार्ट पे कंट्रीब्यूट करना इनफ होता
Like
है?
most of the cases, like in my case, I hardly knew about 10 to 20% code of Checker framework. So मतलब ऐसा जरूरी नहीं होता यार तुम्हें पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के कोड के बारे में या फिर एग्जैक्टली पूरा प्रोजेक्ट कर क्या रहा है, कैसे वर्क कर रहा है, पता होना जरूरी नहीं है। लाइक टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ Mozilla. Like if you have idea about how whole Mozilla Firefox works, then like you will be on certain level, right? Like you will be heading the Mozilla team, because I don't think that the owner of like who is the president of Mozilla, और like उसको ये सब चीजों के बारे में पता होगा कि एग्जैक्टली अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में क्या क्या चल रहा है। लेकिन उसे ओवरऑल लेवल पे पता होगी चीजें, बट स्पेसिफिकली नहीं पता होगी। तो तुम जिस प्रोजेक्ट पे वर्क कर रहे हो तुम्हें उसी का आइडिया होना, उसका आइडिया तो होना जरूरी है, बट उसके बाद में क्या चल रहा है, आई डोंट थिंक इट रियली मैटर्स।
Right. Okay, so anybody else, if you have any questions, the floor is open. You can shoot them in the chat box. Or agar like just because the session was so comprehensive, like doubts आने भी मुश्किल है, सारे answers तो कर दिया आयुष भैया। So if that's the case, so we can wrap up.
Yeah, like one thing that I can tell you, like in these days, like most of these like organization owners slash administrators are reporting that Hacktoberfest should not be there, because uh, like most of us who doesn't have any idea about open source try to uh, go through their Git repo and uh, like make a spelling fix in the README and open the PR.
Right.
So that's really not uh, a good thing to do. Like if you want to like try GitHub or Git, then you can create your own repository and add certain files or let's say documentation that you want to do in your repo and try to create a pull request with that. So if you just want to experiment with Git or GitHub and try to learn about all those things. So if you really want to know about open source and how it works, how it can really help you to like enhance your skills and other stuff, then try to think it like a GSOC thing. Like try to make Hacktoberfest your GSOC project, or like start contributing in the way like taking up for GSOC.
Right.
So that's one piece of advice that I can give to you. And yeah, it really like it really uh, leaves a bad impression for Indians as well. So yeah.
Okay, so I can see no questions on the chat box. So,
मेरा एक डाउट है।
हाँ,
हाँ, sure,
हाँ,
definitely.
आयुष भैया आप आईआईटी से हैं, हम बीएस सिटी में हैं, तो आपको कुछ एडवाइस हमारे लिए जो हमें एज अ लीड हमारे कॉलेज में स्टार्ट करना चाहिए? आपके कॉलेज में होने से आपको कुछ फायदा तो होगा, मतलब आईआईटी में होने का तो बहुत फायदा होता है।
या देख, सही से ही बताऊं, लाइक आईआईटी में होने का बस यही फायदा है कि यू विल लाइक तुम्हें एक पीयर ग्रुप मिल जाता है जो कि तुम्हारी तरह कॉम्पिटिटिव है एंड रियली एम्बिशियस टू लर्न न्यू थिंग्स, राइट? सो लाइक मेरे जो दोस्त है वो इतनी अच्छी अच्छी चीजें करते हैं कि तुम खुद भी मोटिवेट हो जाओगे कि मुझे भी ये करना चाहिए या फिर मुझे उनसे कुछ अलग करना चाहिए। एंड दैट्स द ओनली थिंग वंस यू गेट इनटू आईआईटी। लाइक मैं कभी भी ऐसा ऐसा नहीं बोलता कि मैं आईआईटी से हूँ या फिर मुझे इस चीज में ज्यादा फर्क है। लाइक तुम्हें खुद ही चीजें शेप करनी है। आई नो लॉट ऑफ पीपल फ्रॉम from like local colleges as well who are really doing great things and are placing into like very good companies as well. So the thing common with all of us is that like कि हमें नई चीजें सीखने में ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है। खुद से तुम इनिशिएटिव लोगे तो तुम ज्यादा कुछ कर पाओगे। सो लेट्स से इफ आई वांट टू लर्न अबाउट मोबाइल ऐप डेवलपमेंट, then try to pick up a new project and start learning as well as developing that project. So it will add one thing to your resume, and in the end, like after learning all these things, you will end up having a lot of projects. So this is the thing that I have done, and now मुझे seriously ऐसा करना पड़ता है, like I have to choose which project of mine should I mention in resume. So like अगर तुम ये strategy follow करोगे तो I think like, you will definitely succeed, and it hardly matters कि तुम्हारा college क्या है and from which region you belong. So,
श्योर, थैंक यू।
भैया मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था।
Mhm.
हेलो आयुष भाई।
Hello.
भैया जीसक में जब हम अप्लाई करें ना, कोई मतलब नॉर्मली कितने ऐसे मतलब कितने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं? लाइक एक दो कोई भी, या मतलब कुछ लिमिट है उसका, मतलब कम्युनिटी में, मतलब जैसे
देख ऐसा है GitHub के अंदर प्रपोजल सबमिट करने के आई थिंक यू कैन एट मैक्स सबमिट 3 proposals, but trust me, if you start contributing in one organization then you will not get time to contribute in some other organization, because like तुम उसमें इतना घुस जाओगे, इतना काम कर लोगे, तुम्हें मन ही नहीं करेगा कि मैं इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से दूसरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में शिफ्ट हूँ या फिर मैं मल्टीपल प्रपोजल सबमिट करूँ फॉर दिस।
मान लो अगर मैं एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम कर रहा हूँ और मेरे को मतलब लगा कि मैं जो मतलब लिया हूँ उसके हिसाब से मैं कंफर्टेबल नहीं हो पा रहा, मतलब मैं उसके ऊपर मतलब अपना बेस्ट नहीं दे पा रहा हूँ, तो मेरे को अगर उसको छोड़ के और एक कुछ जाना है, मतलब और कोई ओपन सोर्स पे काम करना है, तो एट द टाइम ऐसे कुछ प्रोसीजर रहता है कि लाइक मैं उनको लाइक बताऊँ मेरा प्रॉब्लम ये है और दूसरे को शिफ्ट करूँ, या मेरे
नहीं
अपने
यार,
हिसाब
ऐसा
से?
ऐसा कुछ भी प्रोसीजर नहीं होता। लाइक एनी टाइम यू कैन शिफ्ट on some other organization if you are not comfortable with one that you are working on. Like GSOC is not an official internship like in which Google hires you or some open source organization hires you. It's all community thing. Like it's all GSOC is there to increase this open source community and like ओपन सोर्स कल्चर को इंक्रीज करना। इट्स ऑल अबाउट दैट। एंड लाइक ये प्रोसेस पूरा कैजुअल है अपार्ट फ्रॉम सबमिटिंग अ ऑफिशियल प्रपोजल व्हिच विल बी सेलेक्टेड बाय द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। बिफोर दैट एवरीथिंग इज कैजुअल। लाइक तुम्हें मल्टीपल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कंट्रीब्यूट करना है, यू आर गुड टू गो। एक में करना है, यू आर गुड। दैट्स ऑल।
ओके भैया, थैंक यू भैया।
So
Okay.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, Partha.
आयुष भैया, थैंक्स अ लॉट, आपने इतना टाइम निकल के आए यहाँ पे। और आई पर्सनली फील दैट सबको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा जीसॉक के बारे में। एंड थैंक्स वंस अगेन फॉर बीइंग हियर।
थैंक यू सो मच।
Um, भैया आशुतोष चैट में बोल रहा है कि you said something about providing a link to the video.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give it. It's a very lame video, but like it teaches you a lot, like how to ask a technical question. Yeah, I've shared the link.
Okay. Thank you, भैया. Even Amol bhaiya भी बोल रहे थे कि he has links to some more organizations where like we can
Yeah.
contribute in.
Yeah, so I'll just share my PPT और उसके end में I'll just create a separate resources का
Okay.
slide. So वही
Okay,
भेज
भैया.
दूंगा मैं. I'll send that to Partha. That's fine.
Okay, भैया. ठीक है.
Thank you.
By the way, I would like to congratulate Amol. Like you really made a very good presentation. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like,
In my case, like I didn't get time to prepare such a good presentation. Okay.
Yeah, it's acceptable. It's not an issue.
Thank you.
We really got to know many things from you.
It was really, really a great presentation, a great session from both of you. It was really informative and बहुत मजा आया.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So now,
So should we?
yeah, we will wind up now.
Yeah.
I hope you all found this session very informative and helpful. Yet I believe that getting started with open source development is not a really difficult. To the top surely demands some level of expertise. You just need to have a thirst for learning something new every day. We'll finally wind up this event for today. Thank you all for being so nice and being patient throughout this event. Thank you all.
One thing I can request you, like, can you all
Yeah.
like turn on your video so that because I'm keen to see new people. So
Sure.
बहुत ऐसा हो गया कि मैं एक एक लोगों को रोज देखता हूँ during meetings and all that. So
एक मिनट बैठिए कुछ नहीं यार.
guys, come on.
Hello.
अरे बाकी लोग क्यों शर्मा रहे हो भाई? Yeah, I think that's a very good comment. Okay.
Just a minute. Let me take a screenshot of this.
Yeah, sure. Can anyone do this? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
It
guys,
was a
bye
great
bye.
session.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
guys,
Priya.
all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
you know, you all can hit up us. We'll send our LinkedIn या कुछ तो भेज देंगे, right, Ayush?
हाँ, अरे बिल्कुल यार, कहीं भी
हाँ वो फैला दिया मैंने ऑलरेडी फैला चुका.
हाँ, बस तो फिर कोई टेंशन नहीं, बिंदास.
Okay, bye bye guys.
Bye bye.
See you soon.